Trump has, for the first time, addressed Kansas shooting in his address to the joint session of Congress, and FBI is reportedly investigating the Kansas shooting as a hate crime. What changed?
Well, I think, although President Trump is not really a person who thinks very much of his own coverage in the media, I think this is a particular incident that was reported widely across the world, more so in India, which, Mr. Trump has projected as a close ally. And I think possibly this coverage and also the kind of blowback that was happening within America itself is something that must have influenced Mr. Trump's decision to finally refer to this shooting of Srinivas Kuchibhotla in his address to Congress.
You have interviewed Ian Gilgrit, who was the Good Samaritan who came forward and helped the people who were shot. Do you think that the Indian community can be confident that there won't be any more of such attacks and that they can depend on Good Samaritans like Ian in future?
Well, I think more than being a good Samaritan, this particular incident shows how deeply America has been divided by the rhetoric that came forth during the presidential campaign and also after President Trump has assumed office. This is a country that's clearly very, very divided on issues such as immigration and minorities and especially, let's put it very bluntly, non-white people. We've had Adam Purinton, the man who shot the two Indian engineers and also shot Jan Grillet. And then on the other side, we have people like Jan Grillet, who is a very, very, shows the very different face of America. Somebody who is clearly compassionate, who clearly, doesn't go by color. So I think, it's not just going to be, very smooth sailing in the future. I think we may possibly see incidents like this. I hope we don't have any more fatalities, but I don't rule out the possibility of more such attacks on Indians or other minorities.
I think one of our colleagues, Kartikeya, has written an article on our website, which I would urge the audience to read, which was that the Indian community was perhaps living in a sort of bubble inside the United States. The One of the communities have come out with the directives on what to do and what not to do to sort of gel and merge into the larger, integrate into the larger society. Do you think Indians were living in a bubble and the bubble has burst?
Well, I think, the pursuit of the American dream is something for a lot of middle class Indians. It was a fantasy. And, despite all the problems that they might have faced because of racism, because of, their ethnicity, it's something that they kind of underplayed and focused more on the successes that they've been having. And let's face it, they've had some very tremendous successes. They have been able to, rise to the top in several key industries like IT and science. You have Indians in the performing arts. You had Indians, very successful Indians, playing roles in movies, and that sort of, I wouldn't say it was a bubble, but it sort of gave people a confidence to think that possibly, things had changed irrevocably and that they had been able to integrate. But then you have the Facebook post that was written yesterday by Srinivas Kuchibhotla's widow, Sunayana. And I think that makes for very interesting reading. And she ends at the end by saying, what is the US government doing to tackle these hate crimes? And she asks a very important question: do we belong here? And I think that's a question that is going to be weighing on the minds of a lot of Indian origin people who are already in the US or who may be planning to go to the US for either studying or for work.
Trump's so-called Muslim travel ban is going to come back in a slightly modified way, with most of the countries still in the list. Uh, and immigrants of other countries of origin are facing a lot of trouble, but Indian community doesn't seem to be joining them in this struggle. Do you think that Indians, community leaders in the US, etc., should go forward and join these coalitions, pro-immigration coalitions and protests and struggles that are happening right now in the United States?
Well, it's very difficult for somebody sitting in Delhi to, really be giving advice to the Indian American community in the U.S. And I think, I personally, my own personal belief is that if there are more such incidents, I think there will be a time when maybe the Indian American community will have to think about joining hands with other minority ethnic groups and think of ways to, maybe address these attacks, these violent hate crimes. Because I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's not just people from South India who have been targeted. There've been a lot of Sikhs who've been targeted. There's been this absolutely obnoxious incident of an Indian American's family's house being defaced with dog feces, and that's something I think will finally lead to people possibly thinking of ways to join hands, maybe work jointly with other ethnic groups to address hate crimes.
Lastly, there is some criticism that Indian government's reaction to the whole thing, the Kansas shooting in particular, was muted. What do you think about that?
Well, I think they were definitely more measured this time, the Indian government. I mean, if you remember, there was previously an instance of attacks on Indians in Australia, and the government's response at that time, although it was a different government, was very, very strong. This time, people have been more nuanced. I think possibly the Indian government doesn't want to make a bad situation worse for Indians who may be living in the US. Possibly they don't want any more attacks or any other incident like the one that led to the death of Srinivas Kuchibhotla. But I think also India doesn't want to rock the boat as far as things like H-1B visas are concerned, because that benefits a lot of people. And also the Indian government is getting to know and work with this new administration. So while till they form a more strong bond with the government, a better working relationship, I think that was the kind of response we would have really expected under these circumstances.
That was our quick take on the immigration experience of Indians in the light of the Kansas shooting. Thanks for watching.